Why we chose interview. We chose to use interview as our method for researching hobbies and passions. The reason we picked this method is because our topic was more of an opinion than collective data, and then we can understand others' thoughts on a subject. Many people have different passions, so the connecting idea between them all is their love for that passion. With an interview, we can explore all sides of any hobby through the interviewee's perspective. This will show us the goods and bads of this hobby in their lives, as well as why people take the time to pursue these activities.
An interview is essentially a structured conversation where one participant asks questions and the other provides answers. The word interview refers to a one-on-one conversation between the interviewer and the interviewee. The interviewer asks questions to which the interviewee responds.
In this presentation, we are going to explore the interview research method as it relates to hobbies and passions. We believe these topics identifies with key points in using the interview research method successfully. The topics we are discussing are as follows: types of interviews, how to prepare for an interview, how to conduct an interview, types of topics to hit in interview questions, and an example of a conducted interview.
But to summarize the types of interviews, I will mention a unstructured interview. This type of interview is an unplanned one, where the interview questionnaire is not prepared. The effectiveness of the interview is very less, and there is a tremendous waste of time and effort of both the interviewer and the interviewee. Then there are a group interviews. In this type of interview, all the candidates or group of candidates are interviewed together. Group interviews are conducted to save time when there's a large number of applicants for a few job vacancies.
How to prepare for an interview. Choose an appropriate interview setting. For example, if you're interviewing a chef, a good location would be a restaurant where the chef works. Then you want to explain why you want to conduct the interview. This is just giving the interviewee the reasons for the interview. Then you also want to state the terms of confidentiality. This is just giving the interviewee the ability to adjust questions that are going to be discussed that they deem confidential. Then you want to discuss the format of the interview. This is just giving an overview to the interviewee. You want to give the layout of what the interview is going to look like. Then you also want to indicate the length of the interview. So you want to be able to have that allotted time to ask the questions that you need to get answered in your interview. Then you also want to provide contact information of the interviewer. You want to be able to have that open communication even after the interview. Sometimes interviewees they might want to amend certain answers to questions. You also want to allow the interviewee to clarify the structure of the interview. You want your interviewee to be comfortable. Making an interviewee comfortable makes for a better interview. Lastly, you want to have a method of recording the data. So if you're recording it, voice recording, if you're taking notes, if it's being filmed, you want to have your methods of recording your data and you want your interviewee to sign off on these methods.
How to conduct interviews. Prepare for the interview. Prepare for your upcoming interview by evaluating the position that you need to fill in the company. Describe the company and the position to the interviewee. Begin the interview by introducing yourself and discussing the position with the interviewee. Give a brief background of the company and how the open position fits into its organization's objectives and goals. Describe the next steps. Close the interview by informing the candidate of what to expect for the next steps in the interview process.
Types of topics to hit in interview questions. Behaviors. These are just questions based on the interviewee as to what they have done or is currently doing that has inspired you to interview them. Secondly, you want to have questions based on opinions and values. You want to know what they think about the subject of the interview. Third, you want to have questions based on feelings. You want to know what the interviewee feels about what they're doing or what they have done that has inspired you to want to interview them, want to engage with them. Then you want to speak on their knowledge. You want to know what they know about what they have done or what they are currently doing. Sensory questions, these are just questions that it's what has created the buzz for the interview. If you're interviewing a chef and he's getting a lot of buzz because customers are coming to his restaurant, you want to know the why, what is so great about his recipes. Lastly, you want to have questions based on background and demographics. This is just painting the picture of the person you're interviewing. You want the audience to have an idea of the person. These 6 criterias are a good foundation to create a well-rounded interview.
Oprah interviews Michael Jackson. On February 10th, 1993, Oprah Winfrey interviewed singer legend Michael Jackson. This interview was special because Jackson hadn't allowed an interview in 14 years. Oprah asked Jackson about his childhood life, where he shared he never really had a childhood. Every day, Jackson would go into the studio and watch the kids cross the street playing and being normal kids. This also opened up into the reflection of his father's abusive behavior towards him. Michael told Oprah about the traumatizing beatings and abusive language his father directed at him. Oprah was very surprised on how much he opened up on his relationship with his father, and also how candid he was talking about it. They also talked about Michael's skin color, which many had noticed had gotten really white. Jackson addressed that he never used bleach or anything to whiten his skin, but he in fact had a disease. The disease Michael had was called vitiligo, which destroys the pigmentation of your skin. Lastly, they talked about what Michael called his life's purpose, which was song and dance. Jackson explained that he felt he was chosen as an instrument to give music and love and harmony to the world. At the end, Oprah asked him what he wanted to be most known for, and Jackson said he just wants to be loved and be a great artist to everyone. Interviews, as you've learned, have many types, but they all have one main goal. The purpose of interviews is to gather opinions, behavior, and experiences from one's life. To understand a person's hobbies and passions, you have to collect the background of why they are who they are, and an interview does just that. Compared to other forms of research, interviews are more personal and help us understand the subject more. Walking away from a qualitative interview gives you a personal interaction with your participants as well as their passions.